Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Mayor and Board of Commissioners for April the 9th, 2019. Can I get the roll call, please?
Let the record show that all members are present.
Thank you. Will you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you bow your heads with me for a brief prayer, please? Father God, I come to you tonight on behalf of our town, God. I ask that you watch over our residents, that you watch over our elected body, our police department, our EMS, our fire service, God, as well as with our military serving here and overseas as well, God. Please be with us as we're here tonight and lead us in the right way, God. Be with us as we leave here this evening and as we'll join here again. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. There's nothing for an executive session because we didn't have any executive sessions, no public presentations, and no business meeting items tonight. Therefore, first on the agenda is citizens' input. Would anyone like to speak this evening? All right. Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board of Commissioners. During the last 2-week period, we had 2 juveniles struck by vehicles along Main Street. When the weather starts to get warm, you get more pedestrian traffic out, so motorists need to pay attention to what's happening around them. These 2 children, one was on a bicycle and rode out into traffic. The other 2 were on cell phones and stepped into traffic. I cannot stress how important it is to pay attention to traffic when you're around and have your children pay attention to the motoring traffic that they are walking around. I have started an enforcement effort along Main Street to reduce the speed to something close to what the posted speed limit is. It's changing the behavior of people that have driven these roads for many years and don't pay attention to how fast they're going. So it's going to be a challenge for the officers, but I want the public to know that we are going to be enforcing Main Street heavily from this point on. We don't need any more tragedies to occur or have any tragedy occur. No more children hit or no pedestrians hit. The Little League has started their season, so you're going to have kids walking to and from practice, parents out exercising while their kids are at practice. So we need to all take our time and pay attention to the pedestrian traffic around us. Next, the search for uniforms continues. We've spoke to many vendors across the country, and so far we're not able to meet anything that resembles what we have now. So it may be on the horizon that we have to switch uniforms. I don't like that idea, but if we can't get them, we can't get them. With that being said, that is my report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Town Administrator, do you have a report?
Yes, a couple of things I'd like to update you on. This last week, I met with the Department of Community Housing and Development to lay out the plans for the next steps of our sustainable community designation that we got, I guess maybe about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago now. With the sewer and water moratorium lifted, it is now a lot more realistic for us to be able to maximize state grant monies with businesses so that they could grow their businesses and provide for economic development in the community. The meeting was about 2 hours long. They gave me a lot of great information. I'm going to have them attend the next Rising Sun Chamber meeting, which meets here the first Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. Anyone that hasn't been to a chamber meeting in a while should try to carve out some time to come because they're a lot different than they used to be. They're very, very productive meetings right now. The meeting that we just had last week, they had guest speakers from Chick-fil-A and basically an employee motivational instructor to talk about how to get buy-in from your employees. But the Chick-fil-A discussion was very, very interesting to see how, from a distance, we look at the young people that work at Chick-fil-A, and a lot of us marvel at how, how courteous these kids are and the public service efforts and serving the customers, how important it is. So we got to see a little bit of a background into the mindset of Chick-fil-A of how they are able to accomplish that. And a lot of it has to do with catching people doing the right thing and letting people know that they have done the right thing and complimenting these young people to reaffirm the fact that they are doing good things and they're having a positive impact on the people that they serve. So that was very interesting. We have also issued a building permit for Martin's is doing what is essentially called a click and go, where you could go online and order your groceries. Whether it's hot, cold, frozen, whatever, you can order your groceries. They will give you a time in which to come in and pick those up and a number, and you would go to a corresponding location in the parking lot, and someone will bring your groceries out to you. So that's interesting to see that up and running. We've had a new house. We issued a permit for a new house over in the Rising Hills development. This is essentially the last buildable lots over in the Rising Hills development, and we did have a little bit of an issue. This is before my time, but perhaps some people that have been here longer can remember that the Rising Hills development was basically, the approval process was twofold. There was the original development that whatever had 30 some odd homes in there, whatever the number was, and there was one lot that had the existing home on it. But later on, they came in and subdivided that lot into 2 additional building locations on each side. Well, I guess lessons to be learned is when if you're facing the house in question, the remaining building lot is to the right. When they agreed to subdivide it, I don't think that anybody realized, or the builder at that time did not identify that the electrical and utility lines actually cut basically where the foundation of the new house is going to go. So of course the contractor hit that electrical power supply to the existing house and tore it out. But the resident was very understanding of the situation, but that's the way the town unfortunately operated at one time, and that's unfortunate, but we've since got it resolved. We also have a builder who is looking to purchase the 2 remaining building lots along Walnut Street from the Stevens Preserve Phase 1 development. If you make the right-hand turn when you get past the church and look down Walnut Street, there are more building lots in there. So this developer has requested the information to purchase those and to be able to develop that area. The other thing is we did a walkthrough of the Chester Water Project today with the contractor and the county to go over punch list items, basically street repaving and shoulder repair, which basically just your typical punch list. There's nothing really alarming on that. Essentially, the project is done. They are waiting to put a final paving coat on the road that will take place in the very near future. Our public works crews, we all see when water lines break, and our public works crews get out there and dig the holes and are out there in the cold weather, and it's real easy to track that. But what we sometimes don't realize is that the repairs that they put in there are only temporary. And we did have a significant number of breaks this year with the freezing and thawing of the weather and the other issues involved. So our guys have been working very actively lately and going back and taking out those temporary patch jobs and putting permanent ones in their place. The other thing they've done is, we've talked about this in the past, is there were some issues regarding some sidewalks that were installed down on Reynolds Avenue, and the fact that at that time it did not appear that some expansion joints had been put in there. The expansion joints had been put in there, but essentially they got away from the guys. Anyone who's done sidewalk work knows that you're basically putting that cork fiber in between the concrete, and if you're not careful, and if you don't do it at the right time, it can start to waver a little bit. And the concrete moisture setting up overnight was able to go up over top of those fiber strips. That was one issue. Our guys did go back and find where those were at, and they saw cut them. But they're still not the prettiest looking in the world. So Ron has told me that he does have it on the schedule to remove those ones that look a little bit unsightly, take those out and pretty them up a little bit. The other issue that they had was, we have, and I guess to some degree this is learning by trial and error, we've had our guys go out and purchase pre-made forms that would enable them to replace large sections of curbing or sidewalk and curbing using a pre-made form. But the pre-made forms obviously come at certain dimensions, so when they get into smaller dimensions, they have to frame the curbing out. Admittedly, our guys realized that when they were driving the stakes into the ground on some of those 2x4s they were using, that the weight of the concrete pushed some of the pins out of the way, not to mention the fact that they over-excavated in the street, put fill back in, and then tried to drive pins down into that. So just overnight, those started to get cattywampus also. So we do have that on our list for them to come out and replace those sidewalks there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Town Administrator. My report is pretty brief tonight. I do have some important items to share with you, though. First and foremost, on behalf of our elected body, we definitely want to send our sincere condolences to Speaker Mike Bush's family, his wife Cindy, and his daughters Erin and Megan, as well as all the colleagues in the House of Delegates. Mike Bush served with distinction as Speaker of the House for a long period of time, actually the longest serving in Maryland history. So as you guys can see, Main Street's starting to come back to life. We have another building that's coming together. Myself and Town Administrator, as well as Commissioner Warnick, have been doing walkthroughs. We're excited for what's coming next on Main Street, and we're super excited to hopefully have that entire block full within the next few years. A vibrant Main Street is what we all want to see, and we're very excited for the potential businesses that might fill those locations. Special event after our Little League Parade. The Rising Sun Little League Parade is going to be at 9 a.m. Chief did send out a traffic alert already regarding the Rising Sun Little League Parade. But after the Little League, you are all invited to the unveiling of our Little Free Library. This is something that I thought would be a great addition to the town. It's going to be installed right on this side of Main Street here. And it's basically a book library that people can take books, leave books, and it's an outdoor library. So we're super excited about that. That's going to be at 1 p.m. following the Little League ceremonies right here at Rising Sun Town Hall. Last but not least, you all are aware that Cecil County ended up shooting down our amendment to the Master Sewer Water Plan. I know that I speak for the entire board when I say that we are extremely disappointed. Councilman Miller, who represents our district, vehemently opposed our amendment. He ended up taking a legal memorandum, basically saying that the town was going to force people to connect around the 273, up 273, if the town was ever to expand. They basically came back to us and said, challenged us to get an opinion. So the two opinions that we did get, basically stating that the town in no way has to force people to connect. The first one is from former Secretary Bob Summers, who served as the Maryland Department of the Environment Secretary from 2011 through 2014. He also served as Deputy Secretary for 4 years, as well as the Water Manager Administration for 6 years. He served in that administration. In addition, we have another letter from Michael Powell. Michael Powell was named the Maryland Lawyer of the Year for environmental law and environmental litigation. He was the chief counsel for the Maryland Department of the Environment, and amongst his colleagues is very well respected. I'm going to turn over to Calvin what those opinions stated, but I know I speak for this entire board when I say all that Rising Sun is asking for is to be able to participate in the economic prosperity that we see happening in other towns. We all want to continue to have and be surrounded by a small town feel. Nobody wants Rising Sun to grow exponentially, but we also don't think it's fair to our residents to be burdened with high utility rates. What this comes down to is if there are businesses or residences that want to connect to our water line and they decide to pay the cost to do so, we believe that it should be their rights as property owners to do that. So with that said, Calvin, I'll turn over the opinions to you.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, as the mayor had suggested, I'm not sure how higher up the pedigree tree we could go to get the legal opinions. The sections of the law that the county is suggesting apply to us come out of the Maryland environmental section of the annotated code of Maryland. And the enforcement agency for enforcing those regulations is the Maryland Department of the Environment. So going to a past MDE secretary to get a legal opinion, and then also going to the lead counsel of MDE to get a legal opinion. I'm not sure how much higher we could go. Now, with that said, given the fact that our disagreement with the county is not done, we can't get MDE to engage in out of sequence. In other words, we are going to be making an appeal to the Maryland Department of the Environment, so that's why the opinion letters are not coming from the Maryland Department of the Environment, the sitting members now. However, as we've talked before, we do have 2 letters distinctly supporting what the town of Rising Sun is trying to do with this water and sewer. The county had been suggesting that there is a state law, which there is a state law that suggests that when an authority at their expense pays to put a main out in the street and further pays at their expense to run the sewer and water connections up to the abutting property, it's implied that that means that the property owner has requested that service at that point. And so if the town, or if that entity has taken the steps to do that, it would be unfair for that entity to have paid that cost and then the property owners to then change their mind and say that they don't want to do that. So that in part is what the law is talking about. In this particular case, the town of Rising Sun is not providing any connections to any of the property owners going in any of our extensions other than the property owners that have sent letters to us formally requesting those services. As I've said at previous town meetings, furthermore, the areas that we are showing that are going to be provided service are in what is called a municipal growth area. And the state law requires every municipality to create a comprehensive plan and to create a municipal growth area. And you can't do anything unless what you're trying to do is in that municipal growth area. So when we submitted our plans to the county, we made it very clear that in many cases, our municipal growth area is the right-hand side of 273 273 and the left-hand side of 273, depending upon which way you're coming. Meaning those properties that abut that will not be able to connect to the town's water and sewer unless they formally requested to do so, and unless we changed our master sewer and water plan and our comprehensive plan. So the town checked all the boxes to make sure that this was done correctly, because it's not our intent to make people have to connect. Furthermore, the county has put forth the idea that putting the water and sewer lines in the street will devalue the land of farmers and will take away the rights of farmers to continue to be able to farm. I don't know what soapbox we need to stand on or how high of a mountain we need to climb to make it clear that that is not the case. So you're getting this reaction here tonight because the only real platform we have to have our voice heard is in this platform with our residents to put those messages forward. So the one opinion letter from Mr. Powell basically states what I just said. The law does not apply. The opinion letter from Mr. Summers basically talks about reviewing Mr. Powell's letter, contacting the current sitting members of MDE, and getting their concurrence on the fact that they see nothing in our law, in the state's law, that would require anybody to connect. Furthermore, the state law goes on to say that if the authority were to have a law or pass a law that would require somebody to connect, we hypothetically have the ability to do that, but our laws only apply to people that are in the incorporated limits of the town of Rising Sun. So even if the town tried to pass a law suggesting that those property owners out there would have to connect, it would not be applicable because they are not town of Rising Sun residents, they are county residents. So we're just getting frustrated that the real truth in the matter is being skewed in a negative way. I will close with this. We are frustrated over the fact that the state law is very clear that the county is supposed to incorporate all or parts of a municipality's master sewer and water plan. It doesn't say they can reject it. It says they are to incorporate all or part of the plan. It's very clear in the law. The county just dismissed the entire thing out of hand. Furthermore, the county took area that was already in our master sewer and water plan and removed it. That's a reach. That's a long legal reach. Furthermore, we just got word today that although the state law says that we are supposed to create a municipal growth element within our comprehensive plan, the county is objecting to our comprehensive plan. We are an individual sovereign entity with the right to pass laws and regulations that are for our residents and our people. And the state law says we should have a comprehensive plan. And the state law says we have the right to create a municipal growth area. The county is objecting to that, but they're not citing any reasons why they are objecting to it. They're just saying it's not consistent with their plan, which translated means they don't like our plan. And you saw the mayor's post last week. We have bent over backwards, giving the county memos and letters answering every question. They asked us to get support letters from the Department of Planning and MDE. We did that. We have jumped through hoops that other communities have not had to jump through. And that just intellectually is not fair. And so essentially, by trying to block our comp plan and trying to block our master sewer and water plan, we feel they are exerting authority that they do not have in this case, and they have not tried to exert that authority over any other municipality in Cecil County. So that's why, again, I keep saying it. Our board is fighting to make sure that we have the same equal opportunity for our town to prosper as every other town in Cecil County has.
I think the other thing that's very frustrating about this process is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of information, manpower, to basically try to prove a point that we've approved time and time again. I know when I speak for the entire board that nobody would be on board with this plan if it forced connections. We all believe like I said, in economic growth for our town, smart growth. We don't want to overexpand. We want to keep our small town charm. But we do have a rate structure that is going to continue to raise rates, and we want to stay competitive and be competitive with new businesses coming in and with new residences coming in.
Mayor, the one thing I would like to add, and I think it's important to add this, because what we have found is every time we say something, somebody tries to interpret it or read it a different way, and that's really becoming maddening, is that when we talk about growing our town, people need to realize we are not looking to change the character. We have agreed to adopt the county's zoning code in those areas of which we are talking about providing water and sewer. So I hope people can appreciate how unfair it is that the county would say this is not consistent with their comprehensive plan when a property owner, if they reached out to get water and sewer from us, can't build any more houses than what the county has already said they can't build a building any higher than what the county has already said. And it's the rumors are they're just disingenuous, and it just makes it frustrating, as the mayor mentioned, when our county council representative appears to be participating in that also. It's just, how do you combat that? Are we supposed to just roll over and just accept that? And that's the question.
Thank you. Moving into commissioner comments, Commissioner Altenreith.
I don't have anything tonight.
Commissioner Braun,
I don't have anything tonight.
Commissioner Pearson,
Nothing.
Commissioner Warnick.
Just want to remind everybody that the Project Clean Stream Cleanup is on April 27th at the, we're meeting at Veterans Park at 9 a.m.
Facebook too.
Yes. And so we'll meet over at the Public Works Yard, which is off Derry Street, around 9 a.m. And then we'll figure out whether, depending on manpower, we'll work on Veterans Park and the dog park, or maybe just one or the other. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Moving into upcoming meetings, we do have a planning commission workshop meeting on Monday, April the 15th at 6:30 p.m. We also have a town meeting scheduled, the next town meeting, which is April the 23rd. Tiger Trot 5K is coming up on Sunday, May 18th, and then Town Hall will be closed on April 19th, which is Good Friday. Before we leave this evening, I did want to give a special shout out to Chief Peterson. There's been a couple occasions that I've seen him go above and beyond his duties, so thank you so much for all you do. Prime example, there was a dog that was sitting in a vehicle with the windows up, and the chief made sure that that was taken care of, and that was out on Main Street. So we're very thankful for what you and our officers do every day, so thank you. All right, could I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Pass this meeting adjourned.